Almost 10 years ago now, Carrie Volan was my pageant executive director, and with her help and preparation, I became first runner-up to Miss California. To this day, she's a highly sought-after pageant coach and expert, and I decided to reach her over Zoom to get her giving us an overview of different pageant systems and how to pick a pageant. Let's meet her now.
I've been a pageant coach for almost 15 years, and I think what's interesting about my perspective in terms of coaching is that I also have experience as a director, as a producer for pageants, a choreographer, a judge, a contestant. And so I think that really kind of gives me a well-rounded background of pageantry and what judges are looking for and directors are looking for in title holders. And I try to apply that when working with my clients.
Perfect. Now, how many years have you been doing it and across what systems?
So, coaching, I've been coaching on and off for about 15 years, and I work with all systems. I kind of got my start as a volunteer in the Miss America system, and then I transitioned as a director in the USA system here in California. And now I work with pretty much all systems, but the main ones I focus on are National American Miss, Miss High School, Junior High School, and Collegiate America, USA National Miss. The international pageant system. There's so many.
Can you give like an overview of different pageant systems? You mentioned a couple of different systems
Yeah.
just now.
We'll start with Miss Junior High, High School, and Collegiate America. That's one of my new favorites. I actually coached the current Miss Junior High School America. And what I like about that is it's 40% evening gown, 40% interview, and 20% fashion runway, which is like a fun fashion competition. And it's based off of grade level. So I like that you're competing against girls. So for like high school, it's 9th through 11th grade, because by the time you go to the national pageant, if you're a 12th grader, you'll technically be entering college. And so it's based on grade level. And then this year they actually added an elementary section, which won't have interview this year. It'll just be the fashion runway and the formal wear and community service. But I'm excited to see how that works out. A lot of these national pageants have like really amazing travel opportunities for their winners. And so that's one of the ones that I think is cool. They were supposed to go this year to, I want to say either Italy or the Middle East, which are totally different, but obviously it got canceled because of COVID. So Miss American Co-Ed, I know we had talked briefly about that. And that was actually the first pageant I ever competed in. So American Co-Ed pageants has been around forever. And a lot of people don't know that part of the leadership of American Co-Ed actually broke off and started National American Miss. So they really kind of mirror each other in terms of areas of competition. So that is personal introduction on stage, a 30-second introduction of yourself, formal wear, and then a one-on-one interview. And for American Co-Ed, they actually have you kind of do like a little modeling of your interview outfit and do your personal introduction before you interview with the judges. And both of those systems go from, Collegiate America goes up through college, obviously, but American Co-Ed actually goes up. They have a division that is 45 and up. So it literally ranges from 3-year-olds to 45-year-olds. So a huge age range there. And their nationals are in Orlando, Florida. In High School America, their nationals are in Little Rock, Arkansas. USA National Miss, the main difference, a lot of these have similar categories. They do the panel style interview, they do a fashion runway, and then they do formal wear, but they actually have a super long runway. So most of the fun fashion competitions are still like a stage setup. They have a super long runway, so it feels like a really high energy fashion show, which is fun. NAM is one of my favorites. I've had a lot of success with NAM, and this is actually the last year they're having their nationals in Anaheim, California. Next year they'll be moving to Orlando as well. And so they're similar to Co-Ed in that they have personal introduction, interview, and evening gown, but they also have a ton of fun optionals, everything from spokesmodel, where you can present a speech on any topic you want, talent, casual wear. They have a runway competition, so lots of fun extras that you can do. IJM, also really fun. It's a one-on-one interview, fun fashion as well, and then evening gown. So a lot of them have the fun fashion these days. And then where I met you, obviously, was the Miss America system, and that's changed even since you were competing. I had to look up what the scoring is currently because I couldn't remember. It's 50% talent, 20% interview, and now 15% onstage interview, and then evening gown is combined with they call it red carpet and social impact. So you walk the runway in your evening gown, and then you present a short spiel on your social impact or platform. Miss America's Outstanding Teen, obviously affiliated with the Miss America organization, but they have slightly different scoring and different categories because they have the fitness competition, lifestyle and fitness in activewear. And then, of course, there's the Miss USA system, which I used to direct for in California. And that's a third swimsuit for Miss, evening gown and interview. And for teens, it's a third aerobic wear or fitness wear, active wear, and then evening gown and interview. And it's also a panel style interview. The ones you might not be as familiar with, I love, there's a system called Royal International Miss. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. They have their international pageant in Florida, in Orlando as well. And they do a personal introduction. They do the fun fashion and the evening gown. But what I love is they actually have, in addition to all these fun parties and cool things at their national pageants, they have kind of a secondary track that you can compete for called Role Model, which is basically a more community service based. You do a separate interview on your community service, you submit a scrapbook of your community service, and then they take your scores from the other areas of competition. And that's how they determine. And they still get to do all the same things as the national royalty, which is kind of fun. And then the international pageant system, I've co-directed for them as well. And that's a platform-based system. So it's 40% interview, and they do it. The interview is on your platform only, and personal questions. And then you do fitness attire, like aerobic wear that they provide, formal wear and fun fashion as well.
I'd say Miss USA and Miss America are up there in terms of prestige and just brand recognition. What would be the third and fourth coming up behind it that aspiring contestants should really consider?
I mean, National American Miss, I would say for the age range for NAM, I don't want to get it wrong, is from 4 to 24. And I would say that's definitely one of the most popular. I mean, their national pageant has hundreds of contestants that compete, and it's a huge week-long event during Thanksgiving. So that's definitely very prestigious. Everyone wants those National American Miss titles. I would say IJM, International Junior Miss, is right up there, and Junior High, High School, and Collegiate America, and then USA National Miss. To me, they're all, NAM is probably the most prestigious, I would say, in a lot of people's opinion, followed by the other three.
Can you, in a very just candid way, maybe give us an overview of what you just went through, but like in a way that helps someone say, oh, that's totally me. Like, I'm a community service person, I should look at this system. Or I'm totally someone who loves the glamour and I like the fashion piece. Like, I just want to show off my great outfits. Like, how would you steer someone towards the right system depending on their interests and their strengths?
I think some of them are a little blurry in terms of who it's directed for. I think it could be directed towards a lot of people. But in terms of selecting a pageant, and then I'll break down each one a little bit, as you just mentioned. But I would look at, the categories. What are your strengths and what categories does each system offer? The age divisions, because some of them have different age cutoffs. Like in some systems, like a 12-year-old might be a preteen, or it might go up to 13. And so if you're a 13-year-old, you definitely would want to compete in the preteen division where you're with 10 to 13-year-olds versus being in the junior teen division where you're maybe 13 to 15, and some other pageant systems are 13 to 16, which can be harder, obviously, as a younger person to compete. You always want to be the top of that age division. So I would consider the categories, the age divisions. Obviously, cost for a lot of people is important. And then I look at, too, where their national pageant location is. But just in a nutshell, so you mentioned Miss America has always been kind of looked at as like is geared towards those who are focused on intelligence and community service and talent. And I would still say that's the case. But Miss USA, I would say, has definitely transformed over the past couple of years. And I feel like they're kind of turning into almost what Miss America used to be. I think Miss America is still kind of trying to find who it is right now. But I think the emphasis is less on, it used to be kind of the misconception that it was the less intelligent girls who wanted a career in modeling. And now you see a lot of the current winners or past winners have been attorneys and really had, a good educational background. And I think they're really focusing more on being well-rounded and having someone who is not only beautiful, but also goal-oriented, active in their community, and also has that educational background. But in terms of for people who love fashion and glamour and they want that kind of vibe in a pageant, I would definitely recommend International Junior Miss or USA National Miss. Both of those systems, I mean, the wardrobe people have is absolutely stunning and very fashion forward, very glamorous. A lot of these divisions for younger age divisions, the girls, the younger contestants can't wear makeup, but for these systems, you can still, you can't have as much makeup. For interview, you can't have any makeup, but they're very glamorous. Miss American Co-Ed, and this may just be my personal perception, but I would say it's a little more old school, where NAM to me is a little bit more with the times, a little bit more today's girl. And so I think to me, American Co-Ed is a little more very traditional and very family oriented and a little old fashioned. So for the people who don't want that, but like those areas of competition, I would suggest National American Miss. The international pageant system is really awesome, but it's, again, geared towards more platform-based. So if you have a strong platform, you're really involved in your community, that's a great pageant system.
How do you choose a pageant? I know there are multiple ways. For me personally, I knew people who were in the system, and so I already had that social community that was like, yeah, do Miss America. But how would you recommend, like, what's the decision-making matrix that someone should have? Like, you obviously say location and proximity to nationals, but there are probably some other things as well, right? Maybe budget. How would you direct someone to how to choose?
I mean, I think most of the major pageant systems really don't have like this cookie cutter mold anymore of who their winners are, because, for example, like USA National Miss, High School America, NAM, they usually have former Miss Americas, former Miss USAs as judges, and as well as, you know, business people, community members, people in modeling and fashion. So I think you really, it's really open to all sizes, races, very diverse. And I don't think there's a certain mold. But in terms of picking what works for you, I think you have to go into your strengths. And so, like, when I'm analyzing a new client or recommending pageants, I always look at, what do you enjoy? Like, if you love talent and you're a very talented person, you might not want to pick a pageant that doesn't have a talent competition if that's your strength. Or if you're not great at on-stage modeling, you don't want to pick a competition that is 40% on-stage modeling. So I think that's important to consider. And all of these, I mean, I would say you can definitely compete on a national level on a budget. But I would say these national pageants, I mean, everyone has upped their game, and girls have absolutely magnificent wardrobe, hair and makeup, coaching. And although you don't need those things to necessarily be successful, you have to work that much harder, I think, to compete if you don't have those things, and make sure you're bringing that level of polish. And you can look great in a $200 gown, but there are girls who are wearing $6,000 gowns. And so you just want to make sure you have that polish. So yeah, in terms of suggesting, I think the number one thing is to look at your strengths and to look at your budget. Obviously the Miss America system is free for people to enter, where a lot of these pageants have entry fees. If you're competing in the state pageant, it's probably anywhere between $250 to $500. And oftentimes, if you win the state title, you get some of your entry fee paid to nationals. But then you're looking at things like ad pages that are often required, that you have to pay for, airline tickets, travel, all of that. So another thing I would suggest too is things like the Miss America organization have a no compete clause. So if you compete in one of those and you win a title, you can't, or you're not supposed to compete in any other pageants until you give up that title, or you could get your title taken away. So a lot of girls these days, they love, competing over and over, and they want to go to one national pageant and then move on to the next pageant. And that's not, that used to be kind of looked down upon in the pageant world, and people were considered crown chasers. Now it's very much a common practice that girls hold multiple titles at once, and it's in most systems not a big deal. So that would be something I would look at as well, is, are you planning on competing again? And does this pageant have, a no compete clause where that would prohibit you from doing that?
You are such a wealth of information. If a contestant is interested in any of the organizations you just mentioned, is this information all on the website?
I would say most of it is on the website. Yeah. I mean, a lot of, all of the, basic demographics of age divisions and breakdown of competition, that's all, of course, on websites. I think in terms of, kind of what each pageant's known for, or what you have to be successful in that, obviously that's not necessarily on their website, but you can look up videos on YouTube and on social media to get an idea of what, past winners have won or looked like, or what their modeling routines were like, just to kind of gauge, I guess, what the competition will be like to better prepare yourself to compete at that level.
If you're interested in pageant styling, gowns, trends, I mean, come on, you have to look the part. We talk about that in part 2 of our interview right here. Bye.